Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are today. I'm Taffany, and I want to welcome you to Tika's Gardens. I want to talk about my faux plants, these and my faux hanging baskets today. Are faux plants okay in the garden or just in certain spots, not specifically the garden, like the front porch? For me, I prefer to not have faux plants in the garden. It would have to be a place where I just absolutely cannot grow anything and I want something there. And with some of the latest technology and these plants that, like the real fields and things like that, you can kind of pull off having some faux plants in places like that. But for the most part, I believe you should have real plants in your garden. But me moving here to Spring, Texas, I encountered some issues. The first was keeping hanging baskets alive. So in our first spring, I went out and I bought some hanging baskets, beautiful hanging baskets, because the house I had before in Tennessee, I was able to pretty much grow hanging baskets in anything, with no problems. The basket lasted, I don't know, a couple weeks or something and died. And I thought I was watering it, every day regularly like you should. So I go to the garden center and I buy a couple more hanging baskets. After a couple weeks, they died. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So I was getting ready to go get for the third time to get some more hanging baskets. I literally had my purse and my keys in hand, heading to the door to, leave and go to the garden center again. And then I was like, what are you doing? These baskets are like 30 something dollars a piece. This is going to be your third trip. This kind of money for hanging baskets. No, I said, whatever it is, we're not doing something right, or maybe it's just too hot and it's drying them out fast and they have to be watered more, a couple times a day or something. Whatever the case may be, you're failing at this big time. So I would just kind of let it go. And I kind of was having the same results with pots on the porch at first. But then I upped the watering and they were doing fine. But what I didn't like were the water stains that it was leaving on the porch, the water circles from the pots and everything. And it took a while to get that up, to clean it up. It took a good while, a few months. But I decided I don't know if I want to stain my front porch like that. So I started looking for some faux shrubs that, that could be there year round, that could be used during Christmas, and then during the year I could put like some faux plants around it, or even maybe some real ones, but I was thinking more faux, obviously, around it because it's the front porch. And while they were doing good, like I said before, and but I didn't like the staining. But the other issue I had was when I traveled, um even they weren't doing too well. Some of my pots were not making it. Even when I had the little things that you stick in the pot that self waters, for you, they were just struggling. So I just found that pots and baskets were not doing well for me. So I started looking for something that I could use year round. I can use it during Christmas and during the summer. Put baskets, flowers around it to, kind of like hang over the pot. And so I bought these black urns. That was my first big investment. And then I looked and looked for the faux and I couldn't find what I wanted. I wanted something like this, but I couldn't find what I wanted for a good price. These were a good price at the time, so I bought them, but I was never crazy about them. But I will admit I have used them, even in the garden, where I had an empty spot back here near where the trellis is. I had it there for a little while, but mainly I had it here in these pots because I was waiting to be able to get, and when I say here, I will kind of turn this so you can see. If you watched the video yesterday, we planted those not faux, they're real, they're not faux, but we planted these iceberg roses right here, rose trees. So I had them here, to fill in this spot until I could get what I wanted. And this marks the entrance to this walkway heading to the vegetable garden and the rest of the flower gardens around it. So I had those as my first purchase, but then a few months later I finally found these and found them at a good price, so I purchased them. And I have had so many people ask me, is this real? This is my favorite. Is it real? Is it real? When people come, because they can't tell until they touch it. They are, really surprised that it's faux. And, once I found what I was really looking for, I was like, I'm definitely going to stick with the faux on the front porch because I can use it year round. So what I did, I had them in the black urns right here. But for this Christmas holiday, well, not just a Christmas holiday, let me back up. Before then, like I said, I took them out of the urns and put them in these pots here. And I brought the urns back here to mark this entrance until I found what I wanted, which was yesterday. So I got the rose trees planted. So now it's time for me to put my faux evergreens back into my urns and put them back on the front porch so that I can have my, favorites up there. I can have that Christmas tree look. And so that's what I'm going to do today. So am I okay with faux plants? Yes, for a front porch in the garden. Not unless you have spots where it's just an area that nothing can grow and you really want something there. Then I would say take your time and don't do like I did and just buy something because it's like I just really want to have something. Wait and get what you really want, because this really does look real. You really couldn't tell unless you come and touch it or someone tells you. So I would say just take your time and find what you really want. But for the most part, I say yes, you can have them on your front porch, areas where you're just not going to get to watering regularly, especially if you travel often, and you're not going to have, you're not going to want to be lifting these pots up to put them in the in our garden somewhere where the sprinkler system can water it while we're gone. Those pots get heavy when they're full of soil and wet and plants and all that stuff. Now, as far as my hanging baskets, we're gonna take a look at that. Okay, so we're taking a look at the garage, and obviously everything along this wall here is faux. It won't be staying that way. I do want to get I want to take these faux down. This is bamboo with just faux leaves on it, which has faded. And they haven't been up very long. But I want to get some kind of vine to grow. So I'm going to be getting 3 trellises, metal trellises to go along here. And I'll be planting real vines to grow up it, maybe some clematis or climbing rose or something like that. I don't know. This is an area where I haven't put my plans into place yet. I've just been coming up with ideas. But I do have 4 of these pink baskets, 2 here and 2 hanging along the back. And then I have 2 in white hanging along the back. So those baskets are double stacked. And because I had so many issues with hanging baskets, I decided that I probably am not going to attempt to do any more hanging baskets, real live hanging baskets. I might change my mind later, but for right now, no. I'm just going to take my time. These were, another purchase that was like, I gotta have something up there. And while I like them and they're not bad, I want something that definitely has more of a look of a real combination of plants. And so I'll take my time and find that. But in the meantime, at least I have something here that can give me some year-round color. So my hanging baskets and the plants on my front porch will be faux. These will be replaced. As you can see, like I said, they're kind of breaking apart and they're not even a year old, with real metal trellises and real climbing plants. That's a plan that I have to come up with. But so that's my thoughts on faux plants. I definitely think they serve a purpose, and I don't think that they should be ruled out because everyone's garden is different. And if you're a plant lover and you really want to fill in a place and it's just not possible, in this world today with the technology, like I said, of these faux plants these days, if you take your time, you could find something that looks real and that you can fit in your garden. I'm not going to put any in the garden, but those are my locations that I'm okay with faux plants. Like my hanging baskets, like I said, I will stick with that, and my front porch. So today I'm going to take back my black urns and get them back on the front porch now that my rose trees are up, and get these evergreens, these faux evergreens, back on the front porch. And the other two, they were in the garage originally. I'm just going to stick them back in the garage because they do serve a purpose. What if something dies in the garden and I want to fill that space until I can find something to replace it? I think that something like that can serve that purpose. I don't know. We'll see. But let's get the urns filled back up. I am going to keep the dirt that's in the urns because I find using that moss and stuff just gets everywhere. And when the lawn people come and they're blowing the porch off to clean it, it blows that that moss stuff off of the top, and I have to get it and try to put it back on. I'm going to keep the dirt, put it in the dirt. And I also find that the dirt is easy to use when you're sticking in your faux plants around the edges to hang over. So usually what I do when I have dirt in pots like that is I use dirt that is, doesn't have ants and all that stuff in it, but is old, from an older pot. I take what looks the best from it, and I just use the old dirt for that because it's just for faux plants. So those are my thoughts on faux plants and shrubs, and that is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to, get the camera turned around and show you, what I'm going to do, and we're going to get these back out on the front porch. So let's go. Okay, guys, I have a trash bag. And what I'm going to do with this trash bag, because this moss stuff makes such a mess, I'm going to sit the pot in the trash bag, take everything out, so whatever spills can spill in this bag and not all over the grass. So I've got it inside of the trash bag. Let me bring the camera down a little bit so you can see what I've done a little bit better. No mess. All right, see, the trash bag works. So we're getting all of this moss off of it. And I have a cat to go chase. All the stuffing and everything that I used for this, I'm just going to keep it, honestly, in this bag, and I'll probably store the bag in case I need the moss or the stuffing for anything else. No reason to waste it. All right, let's get the second one out. I used the plant forms and everything for holding it in place and giving it height in the pot. And again, I'm just going to save the stuffing from this one. All right, so I was able to get everything out without making a mess and having that spill all over the place. So trash bag's just a little trick. Just sit the pot in the bag and take it out inside of the bag so you don't have a mess all over your grass or your driveway or walkway or whatever. So we'll sit that aside. And next, just for those who are curious and want to know, of course, I showed you this is a close-up of this one. And on the inside, it has this green to give it the look of, you know, just other than just a styrofoam inside, a little green down in there. Let's see. I get it's kind of hard to see it, but you can see when I pull it out. So now I know that this is probably going to make a little bit of a mess. And that's Tika back there trying to get a one of the little lizards or geckos or whatever that crawls all over the house. But let's see if we can do this without making too much of a mess. Let me get my gloves. All right, so I have a bucket just in case I need it, and I have my gloves. So I don't have any tricks for how to get this out. This one has a concrete base to it, and it comes in a black pot just like that one, but it's detached from the pot. right, guys, as you can see, I have my two potted up, and I use dirt instead of just any kind of filler because, like I said, I've just found from my experience doing this that when I'm wanting to do plants around the outer edge, it is just so much easier for me to stick it in dirt than have this filler and the whole mess that comes with it. And it's old dirt. Sorry. It's old dirt from other pots that I've done in the past. And like I said, I always try to pick the cleanest and the best dirt from the older pots, and I kind of dispose of the rest in the garden so that everything gets reused. So we're going to take these and get these back out on the front porch. So let me do that next. Whew. It's early in the morning, but I'm feeling still sleepy and tired. Don't know why. Well, let me get my energy going so I can get these up on the front porch. I know it's going to be heavy. I'm going to go get my garden apron so I don't get my clothes dirty. All right, guys. Well, I have the pots all done. They're looking good. And I could use just a little bit more dirt to top it off because I compacted it down really good to hold them in place. But for the most part, I think it looks good. I love that my urns are back up on the front porch, and I just really love it. And again, Faux has its place, and this is one of those places for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.